Welcome to Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. I think everybody is now muted. Thank you. And we'll turn on the screens again when we get to the meeting part and ask you then to unmute just to speak and then mute again. That should help our bandwidth. If you'll join me in a prayer for our service. Mother, Father, God, Holy Spirit, Creator, Source, all our angels and guides, all the beings who are with each of us and with our church community, with our country, with our world, be with us in this time together as we seek to know more love, more God within ourselves, within one another, within all creation. In joy and love and gratitude and peace. Amen. Our statement of intent: we continue to be fortunate to have a variety of speakers for Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church community. Excuse me a second, I'm having trouble. Dave, can you tell me why I'm doubling up on myself here?
Harley's mic is on. Harley's mic is on. Please mute him.
I thought it was.
Harley, you've got 2 sessions running.
Oh, yeah? Okay. I know, it's been really terrible. My computer rebooted this morning, and I'm just going to back out.
Okay. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church community where we can worship the God of our own understanding, to experience joy and be uplifted, to gain strength and inspiration that we can share with others throughout the week. We invite you to join us in this celebration of life, to nourish your spirit and to enjoy the community of kindred souls. And I'm trying to adjust my view here. It's not working. Okay. Announcements. I want to remind everyone that you probably already know or don't care. Saturday is Halloween and Sunday is All Souls Day. We will be ending daylight savings time next week, so be aware of that when you're planning when to get here for the service. And our speaker next week will be Phyllis McCoy. I want to thank all of our board members and our tech team, each of who have helped prepare for today's service and annual meeting. And remind you, for any updates on what's going on, watch our website, Facebook, and emails. And now I will read our principles. And we're all folks who are here regularly, so you know, but just to reaffirm, while we may individually find some of these principles to differ from our personal understanding, we gratefully embrace them as a community. We believe in infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. We affirm that the existence and identity of the individual continue after the change called death. We believe in our universal connection in spirit, and that there is communication between the spiritual and physical worlds. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the golden rule: whatsoever you would that others should do unto you, do you also unto them. We affirm the moral responsibility of individuals, and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul, here or hereafter. We affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing are divine attributes contained in all sacred texts. And I do have a talk prepared for today. I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I cover everything. Over the past few years, we've had several gatherings during which virtually everyone present spoke with deep feelings about what LSICC has meant to them. This is where we've come week after week, year after year. Some have felt welcomed and at home from our first visit. Some needed time to settle into the safety of being with family, not merely allowed, but accepted, loved, and appreciated as is. As family, we treasured receiving those weekly hugs, sharing time together both during our services and afterward, during lunch. And for many of us, our social community is mostly these LSICC friends. These are the people with whom we eat out or in, take walks, go to movies, concerts, and plays, and celebrate special days, our birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays. We've enjoyed a variety of classes and workshops where we could learn from our presenters and from one another, sharing our spiritual journeys and what we've come to understand. Now, I use the word tithing for ease. It's simply a way to determine what portion, generally 10%, to share from what we've received, of giving outward as a church. We talk a lot here about energy and metaphysics. Tithing or giving back is a way of demonstrating that we acknowledge God as source, substance, energy, and recognizing the value of keeping the flow open with gratitude, sharing from what we've already been given, not saying to source, we don't trust you to provide for us with the ongoing generosity you've promised. Prove it in advance. When we have everything we think we might want or need, then maybe we'll share some of it. This attitude blocks the flow of energy. The energy then has to make another path for itself, and there's a good chance that path is going to bypass us. Until a couple of years ago, we gave to our greater community on an annual basis during the year-end holidays. Then, as we all know, ICCC established a minimum requirement of $1,000 a year for dues. They did this because, like us, they were struggling and in need of funds to sustain their organization. We panicked. We blocked the flow of substance by deciding that if we had to pay those dues, then we couldn't and wouldn't give to our greater community. And then the flow of our substance started to dry up. Over the following year, it was reduced by a third. And then we didn't want to pay the dues or share with our community. I'll come back to this in a little bit. I want to talk about why our membership in ICCC is so important. At the time we left the protective umbrella of the National Spiritual Association, excuse me, our leaders followed the legal and financial advice of experts they were working with to make that change. That advice was to find an organization we could join that would replace the National Spiritualist Association for us. After a careful search, they chose ICCC, the International Council of Community Churches, as the best fit for our needs and for who we had become, Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. Belonging to ICCC supports our credibility as a church. The IRS has a list of factors they use to define what makes an organization a church for tax purposes. They don't necessarily require that all factors must be met. But here's the list and how I see us as measuring up. Distinct legal existence. Yes, we have that. A recognized creed and a form of worship. I believe we have that with our principles and our order of service. And by the way, this is one more reason for seeing our principles every week, even though we've all heard them before. A definite and distinct ecclesiastical government. I think internally that's our constitution and bylaws, and externally that's membership in a larger group or association, which is ICCC. A formal code of doctrine and discipline, again, our constitution and bylaws. A distinct religious history. I'm not sure whether it qualifies, but ours would be that we used to be spiritualist and now we're interfaith. Membership not associated with any other church or denomination. I think this means each member belongs only to our church, and if that's true, it probably doesn't fit for us because we have people who go to multiple churches, which fits with who we are. Let's see. Organization of ordained ministers. We don't really have that, but what we have in its place, again, because of who we are, we have many members who are ordained in a variety of paths, and this could be seen to demonstrate our commitment to being interfaith. A literature of its own, no, I don't think we have that. It might just be out of line with our interfaith principles, or it might be something we want to develop in the future. Established places of worship, yes. Regular congregations, yes. Regular religious services, yes. Sunday schools for the religious instruction of the young. We all know we struggle with this. We were, I think, teetering on having a start for that last spring when we had to close for COVID. Schools for the preparation of its members. No, we don't have that now, but the suggestion has come up a few times in the last couple of years to set up some sort of classes for new members. So that would be a way to deal with that. Okay, one of our concerns, of course, is that we want to maintain our status as a tax-exempt organization. We want the church to be exempt from paying taxes on property or income, and we want donors to receive available exemption from any gifts to us. And there are certainly other ways to do that if that's all that matters to us. However, in the bigger picture, there are things that we might want to consider. We aren't a spiritual center looking for tax exemption. We've been a church for over 100 years, and there's a difference between the two. Many have expressed the hope they will continue to be a church, a cornerstone church, for another 100 years and beyond. I believe belonging to an association of churches helps affirm that and helps ensure it. Again, more metaphysics here. We are demonstrating our belief that there is only one God, creator, source, and that we are all one, not attempting to stand separate alone. In fact, I think there's benefit in joining our light with other lights to share. Okay, back to our financial picture. The budget we put together for the rest of this year is based on numbers for the past 2.5 years. And I'm not going to put the whole budget out here now, but we'll share it with the new board. I believe there's a connection between these next two statements. In January, we as a church began to tithe to our greater community again. And even though we haven't been able to meet in person for close to 8 months now, we are managing financially. Although only a few people have given to the church during that time, gifts have ranged from 100 or more per month to something every now and then to a few larger one-time gifts. With these gifts, we've managed to meet our reduced expenses. Our income for the past 6 months has averaged $1,500 a month. If we can continue to receive this amount or more, it would be enough to cover projected expenses, at least while we're not meeting in the church. However, 2 or 3 of our primary givers have had changes in their circumstances and will not be giving as before, either less or not at all. If each of our 40 or so members were to give $25 a month, not just once a year as membership dues, we'd have the $1,500 a month or $18,000 a year, which is the least we've ever managed on that I know of. It's not a lot, but while we're not meeting in person and have reduced expenses, it would be enough. Of course, some will continue to give more, and some can only give a small amount or maybe nothing at all except their membership donation once a year. So it all averages out. I want to remind you that it's really very simple to set up our church as a recipient with your online banking option. You can control this as a one-time gift, set up a recurring gift amount, do it weekly, monthly, once a year, whatever works best for you. The truth here is that probably none of us need Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church as our church. While we haven't been meeting in person, some have found other ways to practice our spiritual paths. And some have probably not given our spiritual practice as much attention at all. So far, only, except for today when we have a full screen, so far only a few people have been joining our weekly Zoom services. So it remains to be seen what the population will be week to week as we go forward. What it all comes down to is this: what do you want for yourself from Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church now, while we can only meet virtually, and later when we can come together again? What do you want our church to give to the world? As a reminder, our mission statement, taken from our Constitution and bylaws, says, Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church is committed to spiritual growth by offering our congregation and our community a house of prayer and meditation, and to lighting a path to learning, healing, and empowerment. And finally, please, I really don't want anyone giving from a perception of need or lack, either for themselves or for our church. This simply feeds need and lack. Rather, I'm asking you to look into your heart and discern what you love about this church. Can you, will you give to that love? Does anything about this church mean enough for you to make a financial commitment to our church, to God in you, and to yourself? And here, I now want to bless and give great thanks for all of the gifts that we are each receiving individually, that we are sharing with our church and with the world in whatever ways we're doing that. Certainly money is a big part of that. So are our time and our talents and our love and our faith path. We're sharing those. So I thank Creator Source, who gives to us and through us as individuals and as a community. May all of our gifts be blessed and multiplied in accordance with divine love. And now it's time for our meeting, and you are welcome, if you like, to unblock your screen so you can see each other. And so I can see all those lovely faces. Better not to unmute yet.
Oh,
If you have something you want to say, ask, comment down along the way, by all means unmute. And we'll see as you speak, you know your screen gets a yellow border around. We'll know you have something to share. And we will have a time when everyone can come together and unmute again. Okay. I am calling our meeting to order. And I will do this pretty much as I've done before, in the same manner we have had our board meetings for umpteen years. Opening with our mission statement, which I read a moment ago. Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church is committed to spiritual growth by offering our congregation and our community a house of prayer and meditation, and to lighting a path to learning, healing, and empowerment. Dave, can you share those minutes on screen, please? Dave is going to do a screen share so you can see the minutes from our our community meeting last January. At that one, we approved the minutes for the annual meeting last fall, but we now need to amend and or improve the minutes from last January. So if you could take a look at that and kind of read through and see if there's anything you want to change. I think, Dave, if you can back up a little bit, the part about the ballots voting, that might be the, well, no, right at the bottom of that page, the voting section, right there. So people have a chance to see that, since we were voting on issues there. And the next page is really about discussion we had, so I don't know that that's really crucial to see that. Is there anything anyone sees as wanting to change, amend, whatever? Any changes?
Can it go just a little bit slower? Because I was actually trying to read those bullet points and I couldn't quite get through them. Thank you.
If there are no correct, Carolyn, you might be wanting to say something. You're muted.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. It seems like, as fast as I'm a slow reader, but it seems like everything is very straightforward, that there were no decisions are being reported on except, I think, changing the number of people on the board temporarily.
Yes.
Was that the only quote unquote change?
That, and including the financial secretary in the preparation of the budget each year, and making a minimum suggested dues amount of $25.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat those, see if I've got it. $25 a year suggested, but not voted on yet.
It was, those were all voted, yes.
Oh, okay, so they would start at the next meeting,
It
at the
starts
next
this year.
meeting.
Well, the thing that was for the next meeting was the board size, that it was 5 for the last year. And that starting today, if we wanted it to stay at 5, we would have to vote on that again year by year, because we don't want to make that, we don't make it too easy to stay at that. We want to make it easier to have the larger number because it's a
Okay.
better service to us. So
So,
that dies on the vine today.
okay, so that's no longer a question, and we have 7 right now.
Right,
So we're cool for this year.
we are.
And so the 25 a year,
Yeah.
that's a done deal,
Yep,
unless we question that now. And the board numbers is a done deal.
yep.
What else was the,
Including the
Interesting.
financial secretary in the budgeting process.
I have no idea what that means.
The financial secretary is a board member. And we, rather than have just, if they're going to be involved in finances all year, it made sense to have them also be part of the process of setting up a budget for the next year at the end of each fiscal year.
And who is usually in charge of that process? That's
It's the
not,
president, the vice president, and the treasurer.
so we have a treasurer and a financial secretary.
Yes.
And who are those people now?
We actually now, because of the shift in the board, Dave Fritz was both vice president and financial secretary. So the financial secretary position will be someone your board will need to pick. It's not an officer like the other roles. It's a double duty kind of thing. They can be whatever else they want to be or are, and also serve as financial secretary, who is a backup to the treasurer.
And so in these minutes, it says instead of only 3 people discussing the president, the vice president,
Treasurer,
and the treasurer to discuss the budget, there would now be 4 people discussing the budget if
There
there's a
could be.
full board.
there could be. The financial secretary could be someone like, it could be the president or the vice president or well, not the treasurer, but it could be one of those other people. So they'd be doubling up. The point is that if they're the financial secretary, they're involved with doing the offering each week, working with finances with the treasurer. It only makes sense for them also to be part of the budgeting process.
So right now, this is that the whole board does not discuss the budget, only this limited number.
That's the way it's always been in the bylaws as far as job descriptions. That doesn't mean the board couldn't discuss it. That might be a good thing. Maybe your board and this is the budget for the coming year based on last year. So it's these people who have access to the numbers for last year to work out a budget. And again, if your board wants to have the whole board work on it, there's nothing that says you can't. They're saying the responsibility lies with these people.
However, then the bylaws would dictate that even if the whole board can discuss it, it doesn't mean they can all vote on it. Only those 3 or 4 are allowed to vote on it, the budget.
Probably. And making a budget is not locking anything into this is what we have to do. It's just setting guidelines.
Sure. But the bylaws do not intrude on everybody voting or just that partial group voting. The bylaws don't dictate that.
The bylaws don't say you can't talk about it and work it out among yourselves. And I would think most any president would welcome that support. It's a big job.
Yeah, right. I'm just learning how it has been right now. And frankly, it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm very glad to get an understanding of it. Because in the end, the vote can be the whole board, according to the bylaws. Or is that a wrong question?
This is something we can talk about in a board meeting. It's not a,
Okay,
it's not a
yeah, I
vote.
was just asking about
Yeah.
the bylaws part
Right.
because I know
It's
the
not,
bylaws.
it's not
are
a
such
bylaws issue at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining it.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
I have
Yeah.
one comment just to Carolyn Sheets. I don't recall, I mean, I was not treasurer or vice president or president when I was on the board previously, but I think voting is kind of a strange word to put there because I don't think that they vote on a budget. I think that they come up with a proposed budget based on the previous year's, you know, flow of cash. I don't think that they vote like, yeah, we're going to have this much, or yeah, we're going to have this much, because I don't think there's like options in a budget. I think you just base it on the facts and figures that you have, and then you build it as guidelines, like Carol said. But I don't think that you actually vote. Do you, Carol?
No, and I don't think it's appropriate or necessary, because it's not, we're not saying this is how we're going to spend our money. This is saying, this is how we've had to spend our money last year, and these are the things we think we'll have to spend it on this coming year. And
Right.
maybe at the start of the year, we realize, okay, we cannot let that driveway parking lot go one more year the way it is. We will have to put some money in the budget for that, or come up with another way to pay for it.
Right.
That's an example.
That was my understanding. I just wanted to kind of clarify that for Carolyn, because I think she was possibly hung up on the word vote. And I don't think that was really part of the process.
Thank you. Does that
Good,
help,
thank
Carolyn?
you. Yeah, thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes if there are no other questions or,
I would move to accept the minutes as presented.
I second.
who was that second? I'm sorry. Thank you, Cindy. Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, this is a tricky one, but I'm going to take it as passed. Okay. Next thing I have on my meeting notes is our status with government agencies. I believe I shared last year that I discovered the State Secretary of State has no record of us. The county had 3 different listings for us that didn't match. I'm not sure if the city had anything. I never did have the courage to check with the IRS, but finally, just about the time COVID started, of course, I had all the records prepared for us to meet with an attorney. And then we felt like that wasn't a good idea with social distancing, isolation, so on. I did meet with a corporate attorney just a few weeks ago to ask her to determine what is needed to get us on one track with all government agencies. So they'll all have the same information about our tax exempt status, about our property ownership, so on and so forth. She is working on that. And I'm hoping we'll get some information, probably not this week, but the week after. And our board did vote that it was wisest to have an attorney guide us so that we can get everything on the same page. And just as an aside, both Lisa and Denise sound very confident that they can do whatever needs to be done once we know what that is. I also want to mention that in the process of all of this with the attorney and in conversation with Lisa, sorry. It appears that the problem might not have had little or nothing to do with our name change. I think that might have been a factor, but it's also a result of our operating process, which is very unique. With different leadership every couple of years and no paid staff, no one consistent person running through everything, we haven't known what needed to be done year to year. We should have been filing tax reports every year just to say, we're still here and we don't owe you anything. And Lisa's understanding is that because we didn't do that for 3 years running, we dropped off the list. We don't exist anymore. So it's going to take some doing to get that back in order, that back on the list that we don't owe taxes, we do own our property, and then keep it going. I've also talked with Denise, especially, and I think about with Carol Carey too, about how we can get some things in place so that year to year, either we have a hired staff, which would be the ideal, and I know we don't know how we have the money to do that, but it would be an ideal to aim hard for. And in the meantime, to have something written down that each president, each board will follow. And we've also had rogue presidents who didn't follow anything like that, who just did the best they could, not knowing where to go or who to ask. And so things fell through the cracks. I've spent the last couple of years at least sorting through 20 years, all of the interfaith churches records that were in different drawers, were in multiple files with the same subject, with different forms for the same thing, piled on the desk, piled on the cabinets. We can't keep operating like that unless we want to run into this over and over. We have operated as a mom and pop shop. We're not a mom and pop shop. We're a business, and we are under laws that regulate us as a business. And if we want to follow them and protect ourselves, we need to be more businesslike in ways that we haven't been. So I think we're in a good place. We're going forward. And that's a state of the church update for you. And we kind of talked about it already, but the bylaws amendment that we made as a temporary thing last January read, the board may function with 5 members until the annual meeting on October 25th, 2020. This clause must be renewed annually until the number of community members makes it possible and or necessary to increase the number of board members. Excuse me. Well, our community number of community members is about the same as it was last year, which I want to thank you all for. That is a miracle in itself that we have. I haven't counted, but we have a good 40 people renewing, or several who've joined for the first time in several years. I think that is, yes, Phyllis, yes, that is a mark of something wonderful about who and what we are. That many people said, I know I can't come together in the building, but I care about this place and these people, and I want it to keep going. So we have enough members, and we had enough candidates. We've got a 7-member board. So I would like to introduce formally our new and returning board members. Carol Carey. Carol, wait, where are you? Okay, Carol Carey, our new president for her first term. Sue Brewer, oops, I've got this backwards. My mistake. Lisa Seri is the vice president, and I've got the wrong thing in my notes. Lisa is filling a 1-year slot vacated by Dave's resignation. And the secretary will be Sue Brewer. That is a 2-year spot. Treasurer Andrew Majeski is completing a 2-year term. Thank you, Andy. He will be the one old member returning to help with some of the transition process. And by gum, we want our money guy returning. So this is great. Thanks, Andy. Trustees, Carolyn Sheets will be filling Cindy's slot for 1 year. Denise Jackson and Lita Waterfall are each going to take a 2-year slot as a trustee. We have a 7-member board. Standing ovation wouldn't do a lot of good right now, but thank you all very, 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 very much for coming forward and being willing to give this to yourselves and to us. Okay, financial report. Our budget. I've talked with Andy and with Steve Plaza, who's got a good memory for a lot of what we've done and why, especially the techie stuff. I have reports from our bookkeeper, Ann Crowell. I have gone through budgets for the last 3 years. I've gone through our bank statements for the last 3 months. I've gone through the ledger we fill out each week for our deposits. I've gone through bills in the files. And with all of that, I've come up with a budget that I've shared so far just with Steve and Andy, and we will present it with the new board for them to work with. And I'll give you more on that in a minute. Okay, so go back to my notes. Okay, so one of the things, just kind of on an aside, to look at some of the things that are seasonal. Our snow removal, the last 2 winters has been $1,800 each winter. That's a chunk of change, but we need to do that. We each year, within the last 4 years when I've been president, our board did vote that from now on, we will close the parking lot every winter for safety. So we're only doing snow removal on the sidewalks. Although we are not meeting in church, we need to be able to get in and out to make sure that the heating system is working, that the plumbing is not leaking somewhere, to do the financial stuff, to check the mail. The mailman needs to get in and out. So we need to keep both accesses open. We need to keep the sidewalks clear for a bunch of reasons. First off, it's the law, it's a city ordinance, got to keep them clear. Second, it's a matter of being a good neighbor. We don't want to not have it be safe for the people coming through the neighborhood. Third, it's a matter of appearances. We don't want to look like our church is abandoned. That's not an energy we want to create for ourselves or put out there. So keeping the sidewalk clear is something we'll want to do this winter. All right, for this last fiscal year, which ended in June, we had a net income. That means we came out ahead, $1,674.22. After 2 years at least of being in the red, that is just, to you, that's wonderful. And for the last 3 months, we've come out ahead $585.25. Again, yay. Then going to the budget that I drafted based on a guesstimate of what we're giving, and I guessed really low. I really believe it will be probably twice what I'm guessing, and I hope it will. It has been 3 times that for the last several months, but I don't know. Again, as I said, we've got 3 people who've been some of our biggest givers who've pulled back. I don't know what it's going to be, but it looks like, okay, I think I said in my talk, we need about $1,500 a month average to meet our expenses. When we look at things like $1,800 for snow removal, when we look at, okay, we weren't paying any heat this summer. We're going to have heat to pay this winter. Now that is on a budget plan, so we've been paying for it this summer now that I am talking about it. And there are a couple of things that we may be able to reduce or remove, at least temporarily. Andy and the rest of the board can talk about that and how they want to handle that. But I'm hoping that everyone can increase their giving, partly in giving more, and more just in being more regular. Something every month, something every week. Weekly, it probably isn't necessary at all because we're not meeting weekly. But if you can make a monthly donation, you know, it's just like we keep hearing on NPR and all the other charities that we're supporting. A sustained ownership or something to give us an idea of what to expect is helpful, if that's something you're comfortable doing. Personally, I'm not, because my money management is not that regular. So I make the same amount every month, but I can't plan a time every month. So that's it for the budget. I think it's very hopeful. The last year and the last 3 months, especially doing this during our shutdown, I think there's no question, we're blessed. Okay, update on the last year. Our building and grounds care. We had our weeding in spring. I know Harley Blake, Denise Jackson, Carol Condrath, Rick Yeomans, and Mark Carlson all took part. I might have missed someone. If I did, feel free to speak up now. And for sure, I apologize if I missed any of your crew. Denise, Harley, can you think of anyone I might have missed?
Michael
Janet
Anderson.
Bushko?
Michael
With
Anderson.
weeding in the spring, with weeding?
Janet Bushko did.
Okay, Janet.
Oh, yeah, Janet.
Okay,
Bernadette Savage was there, and I think
Thank you.
Carolyn Brooks came once. Yeah.
and who?
Carolyn Brooks was there once. Bernadette was there. I went like 3 times, and I'm just trying to remember who I once.
Yeah.
So they, I don't know.
Okay, great, thank you. Andy secured the back steps that come off of the storage room behind the piano. We did some work on them the year before, and he did even more work, so they're a lot more stable. Stable. It doesn't do any good to have an emergency exit if it's going to make its own emergency. So they still need to be painted or stained or something, and that hopefully can come next spring. We had the buckthorn at the property between us and Jason next door, and at the front under the cedar cleared away. Buckthorn is considered an invasive species, and it's been invading more and more and more. It's gone. We also, and Jason helped share the cost of that, bless his heart, and helped get it done. I mean, as far as organizing. And we have the cedars at the front, the 9th Street side trimmed so they're all one height, which per the tree trimmer will be healthier. The ones that had gotten tallest were blocking the light to the others. So they all have an equal chance at light again. Our exterior windows have all been primed and painted. And the portion over the 9th Street entrance has been primed and can be reprimed and painted in the spring. And thanks to the wonderful paint crew, spearheaded Frontier Foreman, whatever, by Carol Carey. And the crew was Harley Blake, Denise Jackson, and Michael Anderson. And I think Mark was there helping some of the time. And I know Michael reined in a neighbor who was walking by with her dog, and all of a sudden she was helping him with the ladder.
Walter Sipler too.
Walter, yes, I have him on my list and I didn't read his name. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Walter was one of the heavy duty guys with Michael and Harley. It's wonderful. We've been talking about that for more boards than I know. Those windows looked like they were ready to rot out. They were in horrible shape. We have also been talking at least that long about replacing them with new windows, and that's on our dream list. But just to have them painted and protected is wonderful. Thank you all so much. That's
Yeah,
a
Carol was
huge
the
gift.
spark plug there.
Pardon?
I said Carol was the spark plug.
I know. Carol is a spark plug. It's going to be an interesting year. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it with all of your help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And building and grounds care that's pending, as I mentioned, that parking lot is looking like a slum. It needs to be cleaned up, resealed, striped, whatever. We had someone that Denise referred us to. We were on his waiting list for 2 summers. He never got it done. This summer, I didn't even try to get on his list because given that we were closed, that finances were so iffy, not even going to worry about it now.
I actually got him to do my driveway.
Again this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was like super busy. I was put off several times. I had to reschedule like 3 times because he had no help. Nobody was working because
Yeah.
people were getting money and they weren't, they didn't want to be employed. And so it was just he and his wife, the poor thing, was doing all this blacktop stuff. So, but I got it done. And, you know, he's a very good guy and he's very reasonable. And, you know, I will try to put an extra bug in his ear.
So that's not in the budget right now. That is going to be something you guys can manifest. And he is very affordable, so I think it's doable. Then repriming and painting the upper portion over the 9th Street entrance. And what has yet to be done is painting of the upper reaches around the outside of the building. I think it's the soffit and the fascia, all of that. And that should, by rights, be done professionally as a safety feature and to make sure it's done right. So
Thank you, Carol. It's scary when you look up there.
So that's going to pass to you to figure out who and how.
We'll figure it out.
Dave's got a really great connection for someone who would probably help us out financially and professionally do a great job. So put him on your list.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's it for building and grounds, actions and activities. Fundraising, we all know, no rummage sale, no book sale. Lynn Woodland continues to offer and will for the whole year till like end of summer, her weekly class. There have been a few of us going. It's down to just me. I am making a donation for that class each month. And it's available. You can come one time, see if you like it. There may be times when you're drawn or when you're not. And she's pointed out, as many of my other teachers in the past have, the one you most resist is probably the one you most need, the one that will most serve you. So think about that when you're thinking, yes, no, maybe yes is in your best interest to check it out. Doesn't mean you'll like it. As my Marianne Williamson daily calendar says, the people who have the most to teach us aren't necessarily the people we like the most. But we can learn from those opportunities. And I'm not saying that's Lynn, but I'm just saying it's not always fun learning, and a lot of it is. And I value what she's offering enough to go every week. So keep it in mind as a fundraiser for our church. Up until March, when we had to close our facilities, we continue to have our potlucks week after week. Classes and workshops. Cindy offered tapping once a month. Phyllis and Connie offered workshops. Sue and Jessica did their laughter yoga. Dave offered drumming through the year, and partway through the summer, when it just got to be too much for him to do, we started having our Zoom services each week. So that's the list of our activities right now. And I want to thank this past year's board members for all of the love, friendship, and support you've given to our church community and to me. Andrew Majeski, Barb Steger-Koloff, Dave and Cindy Fritz, Jasmine Phoenix, and Phyllis McCoy. As Carol already said, it's not just the president. It takes a whole board to do these things and to support the president in doing whatever she or he does. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We had a healing committee, Cindy Fritz, Jill Downs, Jean Quacco, and Bernadette Savage, who helped see that we had a healing service every 3 months with hands-on healing, and who helped schedule people to lead classes and workshops. And I know I forgot to put on the list Jill's trainer, who did a workshop last fall, and there probably were others that I missed. Barb Steger-Koloff for being our chum liaison, which she wants to continue to do. Our dehumidifier team through the summer, Harley Blake, Carol Carey, and Rick Yeomans. Someone needed to go there every day to empty the dehumidifier. This is the first summer on record that we've had someone do that every day. Progress, this is wonderful. It needs to be done every day because it gets nasty down there. I'm the parrot or the canary in the mine with mold and musty stuff, and it gets nasty in there. So I'm glad that we did that this summer and find a way next year when the time comes. Our tech team, Steve Plaza, Dave Fritz, Andrew Majeski, and Jasmine Phoenix, who've done all the computer stuff, Facebook, posting website things, so on, helping with newsletters while we had them. All who contributed to the ongoing success of our weekly potlucks. Cindy and Dave for coordinating, Mark Carlson for doing some of everything. He brought food, he helped prepare food, he helped set up. I think when I looked at the table every week, there were probably half a dozen things on that table that Mark brought. He helped with cleanup afterwards. Everyone else who helped donate food, all who helped with setup and cleanup, certainly Carol Carey, who is a kitchen queen, along with Susan Spaeth doing dishes every week, Jerry Quacco helping with takedown every week, cleaning up, putting the tables away, the chairs, whatever. Others, I know there's an overlap in all of that, and there are people I've missed, but a whole lot of people helped to make those lunches successful. And there was a time, well, when we started with them, I wasn't very sure. I thought they wouldn't last very long. And they lasted, I think, a year and a half, and would probably still be going. That's another demonstration of what we have as community. All of our speakers and all of our healers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You make our weekly services, which help make our weeks. Our new board members, whom we've now met and confirmed. And every one of you, and everyone who's not here with us today, for being part of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church, and for allowing me to serve on our Board of Trustees for the past 6.5 years. Thank you. Bless us all.
Thank you, Carol. You do a lot for the church.
Thank you, Carol LSICC.
Yeah.
Carol.
Our next annual meeting, 1 year from yesterday, because of the way the calendar jumps, will be Sundays, October 24th, 2021. Could I have a motion to adjourn the formal portion of the meeting, the annual meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Harley, in a second.
I second.
Denise, second. Motion made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Wave or say something.
Hey, bye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. And then we'll go back to our church. I'm going back to our church visit. What?
Can I just add one more thing in gratitude regarding the food and the kitchen? When we decided to stop figuring out what we're going to have, we just left it to spirit. What in the world? People just brought stuff. We had always way more than enough for months. Nothing was ever organized on our physical level. We just put the intention out there. We can do that again for anything. I remember that, and it's like, I am so grateful how life works when we just let go and let God. Woo! Okay, I said it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where am I? I'm taking us back to our church service, if I can find it. So this would be a place either now or after the service, which is just a couple more minutes, to do more meet and greet. So join me, if you will, in our church affirmation. We totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. We know that as our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all the members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership to our spiritual community, and we are grateful. And I'm going to say here and now, if I haven't said it to everyone at large before, I think our board is a big part of our ministerial leadership. So thank you all. And now, a blessing. We are here only to be truly helpful. We are here to represent God who sends us. We do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, for God who sends us is directing us. We are grateful and content to be wherever it wishes, knowing it goes there with us. We are healed as we let it teach us to heal. And so it is. Thank you all. Okay, open season here. Time to connect.
Nice to see everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good to see your faces.
Hope you're
Thank you,
enjoying the
Carol.
cool weather.
There you go, Carol.
Good to see you all.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Harley, I see a short sleeve shirt. It's cold here.
You poor baby.
Ah,
Got my air conditioner on too.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
We do too, but all we have to do is open the windows for ours.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss you, Harley.
Yeah.
You guys too.
okay.
Hey, Sue, what's your cat's name?
This is Miko,
Nico.
Hi, Miko.
Oh, such a
one of six.
One of six.
Oh my word.
Oh,
Ah,
I could go nuts in your house. I'm so allergic to cats. Oh, I love them. They're great.
ah.
Miko was a friend's cat. She moved in a year and a half ago
Mhm.
because she lost her house to foreclosure, and she came with 2 cats, and then I ended up inheriting them because she left.
Good thing you love cats.
Yeah.
The whole family of cats.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's called a clouder, a clouder of cats.
Okay.
Just learned that
Who
yesterday.
mixed that up? Hold those names up anyways.
Not a cat house, okay.
Not a cat house.
Thank you,
Okay.
Sue.
Oh my.
Ah,
She's all
Hey, Andrew, I saw you for a moment. Nice to see you.
Hey.
Like I'm kind of dark in here, but
But there you are.
there
There
you
you
are.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still only see 9 people.
I only see one at a time.
Oh, well, one at a time. You probably have up on the top on the right. You probably have something called gallery. If you
Yeah.
do you have
Yeah,
I'll give you
I'm
everybody.
a renegade. I've got
I
an iPhone.
don't see any gallery,
Okay.
If
Okay.
you see-
but I'm on an iPhone.
Where it
I'm on
says
an iPhone.
view, where it says
Right,
view,
yeah.
go to view, or right next to view
Hi, Louise.
Oh, let's see.
on the right.
Up on the right.
Or
Guys,
right next
meetings.
to view, it has a little box of
Gallery?
squares. Hit the box and then it'll give you 3
I
different.
don't see it.
She's on her phone though, so that makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
They're all tricky.
Anyway,
I would
lovely.
have to say, I want to just,
See
I don't
everybody.
understand how anybody could have pulled off what Carol Giesecke did. I don't have any of that ability. So thank you for being such an incredible organizer of all this kind of stuff for
I
people,
agree.
people like myself who don't deal in that world very well. Wow. And yeah, I'm just amazed. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
You brought us back into business mode, and we are forever grateful for the organization, because from that platform, we can just grow.
Mhm.
I would like to add something too, as kind of an incoming person here and somebody who's got some background in some of the IRS machinations, and probably Denise too, is I did go to the IRS site to take a look, and I was the one who talked with Carol about after a few years, if you don't turn in a particular form on an annual basis, they'll purge you from the records. But there is actually a fairly simple 1-page form that you have to fill out, and that form calls into account a variety of different documentations, and so it does take a little bit of time to get it together, but so that you don't feel like it's just hanging out there and that we're just a non-entity. It really isn't that complicated. Like with the Secretary of State, on an annual basis for my LLCs, the limited liability companies, I have to re-up, and sometimes I have to send them documentation. It's like a little bit expanded version of that. So it's totally doable, and I don't know whether the attorneys that Carol's brought on board are working on that presently, and if we can do anything to support that, but I'm game to do that with Denise or whoever else is interested.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you, Lisa.
understanding is the
Lisa.
attorney is pulling together what we need to do. That's the first part of her report.
Okay.
And I know she bills like the first or second day of the month, so I'm expecting to get information, not this week, but next.
Yeah.
I probably should check with her this week and confirm that right now we just want to know what to do. We're not asking her to do it.
Okay. Well, and
And
I'd
I'm-
like to
yeah.
say at $300 an hour, if there's things that we can do to support her in that effort once that direction is given, and then have her do the legal portion of it, that's probably the better step to take, because
Of course.
it is pretty straightforward from what I saw on the IRS pages.
Yep. And it's not just the IRS. It's the fact that there are at least 5 entities involved, or 6,
Sure.
that we want to do them all at once and make sure we're good with everybody.
Understood.
That's cool, Lisa. Thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
And Denise, thank you.
And Denise, gee, people who know what to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, rich resources.
Yes.
And on a totally non-linear base, I just want to say how truly, like almost to the point of tears, how warmed my heart is by seeing all of your faces on this screen. Like
Yeah.
I have really,
Absolutely.
really missed you guys, and I love you, and I thank you, and I'm glad that we're all still collected, and I believe in our etheric connection, even when we're not even evidencing ourselves in this Zoom format. I know that there's twice as many of us out there that are still a part of this community, and I just really want to acknowledge my appreciation of and love for you all.
I've had to fill in
Thank
for
you.
everybody and it's not been easy.
And I know for myself, as an introvert, as someone who lives alone, loves it, and just want to do it myself, it's the easiest way, whatever. I have hit the I miss those hugs like crazy point. And I know Sharon Captain and I were just talking about that the other day of, boy, we miss our weekly fix of hugs. So I think we're a long way yet from being able to come together physically in the church for a lot of reasons. So
Yeah.
we can do this is a gift. And we all need to stay connected with each other with phone, email, with one-on-ones, whenever, however, and whenever we can.
Treasure what we have.
Yeah. And we are all one. We're all one mind. And I guess we get to practice that in a different way.
And my talk next week is expanding the mind of God. So we're going to talk a lot about how we expand the God within us and the God surrounding us. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
For which I say, yay, God.
Yay, God.
Go Jesus.
Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Yep. Love you all.
Love you.
Love you.
Let's go.
Bye now.
Have a great week.